I recently read somewhere that Martin Luther did not think much of the letter of St. James. In fact, he harshly compared its contents to straw. I don't know about you, but I've always liked the letter of St. James, and I think it is probably to do with the fact that he looks to the natural world for examples of truth about God. He counts on real life to help make his point. And in our letter today, James chapter 3 gives us plenty of real-life imagery to play with: horses and bridles, rudders on ships, fires, fig trees and grapevines, and finally, human tongues, at which point we can all cringe. All of his real-life examples point the same way. All of the images are used to make the point that small things like tongues can produce very large and dangerous results. Speaking of how our tongues can let us down, if we turn to our Gospel today, Mark chapter 8, into the story enters Peter, speaking without thinking, speaking without understanding, to the extent that Jesus rebukes him. We think harshly so, with that well-known phrase, "Get behind me, Satan." That same phrase is used in the Old Testament in the second book of Kings, and if Peter had known his scripture, which I'm sure he did, then he would have known what Jesus meant was, "Fall in behind me." It wasn't a dismissal from Jesus, but a request to follow him more closely. In Jewish tradition, as in the New Testament, Satan is frequently portrayed as a blinder of human beings. We know that Jesus was renowned for the healing of those who are blind, for healing not just the physically blind, but opening the eyes of those who are blind in all sorts of ways. And in our Gospel, Jesus wanted Peter to see more clearly, to not be a stumbling block to the will of God. And that is the good news for us in our lives today. We need to be self-aware of the damage our speech can do. We need to have faithful speech, but we also need faithful action. We need to fall in behind Jesus. We need to follow him closely. The purpose of the following we are called to is to keep company with Jesus, so that by being always where he is, always in his company, we can learn to be just like him. This understanding of what to follow Jesus really means is summed up in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, where Jesus says, "Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly."